Craig Smoak.
Saw this note come down my timeline earlier today, the Manning Passing Challenge. This at Thibodaux, Louisiana, Nicholls State. Started looking at names, some that were familiar, schools that are a part of it. Cameron Rising, Utah, C.J. Stroud, Clayton Tune at Houston, Alabama's Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, Stetson Bennett, star at Georgia, and Hero. All sorts of names that are on the list. Lane Hatcher from Texas State. Baylor will play them again this year. Max Johnson at A&M. And then K.J. Jefferson, Arkansas, as some of them. And then Kyle King, Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, a powerhouse in Division III. He's on this list, and Kyle joins us. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Kyle, congratulations on being a part of this. Can you kind of go over the background of how this came about and how you ended up going to this passing academy?
Yes, sir. So we played the Natty on December 17th and had a great game, kind of better than probably the best game I had of the year. And then about 2 weeks later, I received an email from Archie talking about, I'm in the running to make the cut or whatever. And then, kind of didn't think much of it. Just, thought it was a cool honor to even get that opportunity. And then got a call, I guess it had been about 2 weeks later, to let me know that I had actually made the cut and will be a part of the camp. And, ever since then, it's been pretty surreal.
So what will you be? I know that they have counselors and all that. So what will you be doing at the camp?
To my knowledge, I mean, there's 100 and they sent the information out the other day. There's 1,350 campers. There's 135 coaches and 45 college quarterbacks. And I think the quarterbacks are responsible for just drills and stuff. So it's almost like we're another coach, but we also, the cool thing about it, we get workouts as well. So since I've never really been there and done this before as a coach, I would assume it'd be morning workouts with Peyton and Eli maybe. I don't know exactly, but I know Thursday at 3 o'clock we get a throw-in session.
When you got that communication from Archie, you think that somebody was trolling you for a second?
Yeah, I really did. I was like, man, this can't be real, coming from a little town like I do, people don't just get this opportunity every day.
So you thought it might, you went back and then he texted you. You told me this earlier today. He texted you, then you guys end up talking. Man, you're the only Division III quarterback on this list. And Kyle, I'll be brutally honest here. When I started going over the list, I was saying, okay, who from Texas is on this list, or schools, or maybe former players from this area? And when I saw your name, it just jumped out at me. I was happy for you, but very, very surprised. This is kind of elite territory. This is a great deal for not only you, but the program as well, don't you think?
Oh, no doubt. Not even really for the whole division, just D3 in general. It's just a great thing for everybody, and I'm glad that Archie Manning was so nice to give an invite to Division III player, and just hats off to him for even noticing, and I'm very thankful for it. And as far as for what it does for UMHB, yes, getting UMHB a little more exposure. Like you said, we've won a lot of football games in the past couple years. We do very well, but just being Division III, we don't always get the exposure I don't think that we deserve. So this is a great opportunity.
You're from Milano. You're from a family of athletes. You mentioned your mom scored 55 points in a basketball game. Your dad and also your older brother played college basketball as well, and your younger brother, Ben, was a hell of a player with you at Milano. You came out of high school, and how many offers did you have?
3 legitimate offers. I had Sagu, Howard Payne, and Hardin Simmons. And I thought I was going to get Midwestern State, and I think their OC had just gotten fired, and we were on a pretty good page, and he just got fired right before I graduated high school. Or not fired, but took another job at Arizona, actually. So that kind of hurt. But, yeah, those were the only 3 I had out of high school.
You had 3. And UMHB, you were at initially, was it Howard Payne where you were there first?
I was at Howard Payne for a year, yes, sir.
So
my freshman year.
How did you get to UMHB, and how did that story go down?
Well, I'm from about 40 minutes from UMHB, and I did have a visit to UMHB, and everything was good. They didn't want me to play quarterback. UMHB didn't want me to play quarterback, and I was young and dumb, and I was dead set on playing quarterback. So I went to Howard Payne. It was I was happy I met one of my best friends from there. Had a good time. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time. Was the third string quarterback my freshman year. But about the third game of the year, we're looking for a punter, and they let me punt one. I told them I could punt, and ended up making all conference that year with averaging like 44.3 yards a punt that year. So I'm happy for my freshman year. I got to play more than most freshmen do, so I can't complain too much.
So
wait, you were young and dumb then, so you're old and smart now.
I'm wise.
There you go.
Yeah.
You sure are. You accepted the invitation, man. That's right there. You're getting better already. 2020 was a bizarre year because of COVID. You guys ended up only playing like 5 games, and you basically were the backup. How did you get on the radar? How did you all of a sudden like blossom at UMHB?
I'm probably one of the only people in the world that can say this. COVID helped me out. Without COVID, I never would have started a football game at UMHB. Because going into that, so the fall before, the 2019 fall, I was actually the backup on JV. And, by the end of the year, actually, I started out as a third string on JV coming in that year. I just transferred in. It's my first year there, first semester. Ended up starting on JV the last couple games. Okay, so then we go to the next fall semester that ended up getting canceled because of COVID. Well, I worked my way up to the varsity team, and we have exit meetings. And Stephen Lee was my offensive coordinator. Great guy. We're pretty close. He's now at Abilene Christian. But he told me, he's like, I could see you being the number 2 quarterback on the roster if you work hard. I said, yes, sir. My best friend, Tommy Bowden, was the number 1. So we get to the spring semester, and Tommy's the quarterback, and we're 3-0. We just had some struggles offensively, so we just decided to make a change the 4th game, and I got to start versus Louisiana College was my first start. And we played very well. I think like I said earlier, we either put 67 or 72 up, and I could be wrong on those numbers, but it was a lot of points. And then the next week, we traveled to Hardin-Simmons for the ASC Championship, which is our big rival. They're usually a top 5 team. And we won that game 24-12. And ever since then, coming into the next year, I was the guy for the moment, and that's kind of how that happened. So COVID really saved my college career.
That's an interesting way to put it. It's probably one of the few people, you are one of the few people that benefited from it. What was it like not to play when you transferred from Howard Payne to UMHB for someone like yourself who's been successful?
It was hard. So both my parents are coaches. So, I've always been I've always been taught team first. So, I wouldn't say I ever got selfish, but it was just hard because I'm a competitor and I wanted to play on the big stage, because everybody would ask me back home, when do you play? And JV at UMHB plays on Mondays. So I'd have to tell them Monday, just little things like that were just a little punch to the pride. But, that was probably the most challenging part. But like I said, I learned a lot on JV, and I'm very fortunate for having a JV just because you still get to play some football games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does being a coach's kid, though, give you, at least how it works?
Yeah. I mean, when I came to UMHB, they had just won a national championship in 2018. So I knew I wasn't just going to come in and be handed anything. And I called Coach Fred one day and I said, Coach, he kind of knew me through the recruiting process. We weren't great. We weren't real close, but my family was really close with the head boys basketball coach at that time. His name was Ken DeWeese. So I asked him to give me Coach Fred's number, and he did. And I called him one day and was like, Coach Fred, this is Kyle King, my punt at Howard Payne from Milano, Texas. And I was just wondering if I were to transfer, would I have an opportunity, or could I have a roster spot and have an opportunity? And, he said, sure, we'll have you, but you're going to have to earn everything you have, and nothing will be given. And he couldn't have said any more words that were true than that.
So he's retired, and now you guys have a new era, and obviously in the capable hands of somebody who's been very much a part of the success. What's that been like, the transition?
Yeah, so it's been, it's pretty smooth because Coach Harmon has been the defensive coordinator for so long, I believe over 20 years. And Coach Harmon is a very competitive guy, and a lot of his coaching, stuff he learned coaching-wise came straight from Coach Fred. So Coach Fred's still around from time to time, just around the facility. So it's still nice to see his face and stuff. But as far as, how we do things and how the spring went, they're very similar to how they always have been done.
And now this is the part that I couldn't wait to get to. So here is a guy going to the Manning Passing Challenge. He leaves. You leave what, Wednesday, or do you leave? What time do you leave? Will you leave tomorrow?
Leaving Wednesday, yes, sir. And I won't have to be there till Thursday, but my dad and me wanted to get down there a little early just to make sure we got everything settled. Yeah,
well, it's going to be – I can't wait for you. I hope we get to check in with you maybe after it's all over as well. So it's 100 degrees outside almost every day, right? It's 100 degrees. It's miserable. Heat beating down on us like it's just a big, huge ray of nothing, of just battering our heads.
It's tough. It's hot.
What do you do during the day now?
My summer job is I haul square bills. So that's what I do to make a little summer money to try to help me out the next semester. So that's kind of what I do. Yes, sir.
So, is there a square bill company we get you an NIL deal with?
I wish there was, but there really ain't. It's pretty boring. There's not a whole lot of glamour in it.
I think anyone who's lived here long enough, we understand the heat, but there's some days that seem to even be more of a battering ram than others. But you get used to it. Do you get used to it even doing that, hauling hay?
I honestly, it sucks. Like, don't get me wrong, but I enjoy it because it does get me ready for football.
Oh yeah.
Come fall camp, I'm happy. I'm like, it's hot, but I'd rather play football in the heat than haul hay in the heat. So that's kind of it's kind of a middle edge for me. I really think in a certain type of way because that's kind of who I am as a player. I try to be tough. So that I try to take that into all aspects of things that I do.
So Kyle, as somebody who initially, as you mentioned earlier, there were thoughts that you weren't even going to be a quarterback.
Right.
UMHB goes and wins a national championship. You got the Manning Passing Academy invite. I mean, you've proven a lot to, I'm sure, a lot of people, but also to yourself. Just what is this last, year or so, or even less than that now at this point? What has this been like for you?
Man, it was kind of weird. I was driving the tractor the other day, spraying some stuff, and it's just quiet in there, and it's just time to myself. And I was just thinking back, and it kind of hit me. It was weird because after we won the national championship, it was almost like a relief. You know what I mean? Like I didn't truly enjoy it, like I probably should have. That's one of the things I wish I could go back and enjoy it. But I was sitting on that tractor, and all the memories of the year popped up. It's just where I started and came from, and being from Milano. It's just it was so real, and it was just amazing that to myself, because there were a lot of times in my career where I doubted, will I even play quarterback again, like you said. And having the success that I had this year was just, man, it was great because it came from a lot of hard work. And one of the people I have to thank the most is my dad. He always believed in me. It's funny, my dad told me when I was on JV, he's like, well, you're going to win a national championship here and you're going to be the starting quarterback. I used to laugh, be like, whatever, Dad, but it happened. And that's the first thing he said to me after the game. He's like, what'd I tell you? And I was like, I mean, you're right. And he probably believed in me more than I believed in myself a lot of times.
You have a contagious personality, it seems to me, which I would think that as a quarterback, that is just perfect. It's not by any means anything where you're full of yourself. You're confident, but you have a contagious personality. Have others told you that?
I would say as our whole program is kind of like that. Every guy on that team, we're like brothers, and man, where we all talk and communicate. And, I think that's rare because I was on another team and we didn't talk a whole lot. We go to practice and go home and kind of go our separate ways. But here it's, we got group chats and it's just, I don't know, it's just like a whole big family. But as far as me having that, yeah, I would say so. And I'd say coming from a small town probably helps that. Me and my little brother have been on the fire department in our small town since we were like juniors in high school. So we've always been around people and just been put in kind of the spotlight type deal. And it's just, I think that's really helped to really mold me today to who I am.
So, Kyle, I have to ask you, it's obviously going to be a star-studded event. A lot of big-time quarterbacks are going to be there from different levels. And I know sometimes guys will be hesitant, like, I don't care. I'm confident. I don't really care so much about meeting other guys and things like that. But is there somebody that you'd be, C.J. Stroud, for example, or
right.
somebody else that is going to be around that you at least like to chat it up with, pick their brain, maybe work out a little bit?
Oh, man, they're all of them. They're at a place a lot like CJ and Bryce. I mean, I'm not saying that I'll be starstruck, but they're great players, and they're somebody I look up to because I watch them play on the big stages. So I'm definitely not too proud to admit that I'm looking forward to meet some of them guys and talk to them guys for sure.
Kyle, for those on the chat room that might be out of our state, tell people what they can expect to find if they found themselves in Milano, Texas.
Milano, Texas, we have okay, I take that back. We have two establishments now. We have a Sefco and a Dollar General. And that is the only stores you can buy anything from. It's population 400, and there's two stoplights. And once you pass, in between the two stoplights is Milano. Once you get outside either one of them, you're out of town. I live basically downtown, and I live a quarter mile down a dirt road. And I'm pretty much right downtown. It's very tall. I mean, very tiny. 2A school. I graduated with 30 kids.
Yep.
36, I think, to be exact.
But what a great story, man. I'm telling you, we had somebody on the chat room, and yes, Mount Union and Mary Hardin Baylor have played before, and Mary Hardin Baylor has started to have the best of everybody. Did you ever suit up against Mount Union?
I never have played against Mount Union. I played against, in 19, when I was on JV, Whitewater beat us that year in the quarterfinals, I think it was. It wasn't even the semifinals, which was odd for us to not go very deep. And then last year, I played against Whitewater, but I've never played against Mount Union.
Yeah, they ran it for a long time, but so have you, and so has Mary Hardin Baylor. Whitewater, of course, a part of that as well. Kyle, it's great. I'm so glad I looked at that list. I'm so glad I looked at all of it and got a chance to get to know you, and we appreciate your time. Good luck. Stay in touch and enjoy it, and soak all of that in. I know you will.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, sir. I really am.
Thank you very much. That's Kyle King, quarterback at Mary Hardin Baylor from Milano, Texas. Small town. UCF's John